Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you are able to hear me. Can anyone please confirm? Can you please confirm? Able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is Bhaskar. I have 14 plus years of IT experience and currently working for one of the US based company from Hyderabad. And I have a relevant experience with Azure data engineering is 7 plus years I'm having. My career was started with MSBI with Microsoft Business Intelligence, where I work for SSIS, which is also ETL tool, where we have used different kind of systems to extract and transform the data as per the business requirement. And later I got an opportunity to work for Microsoft. I was there for more 8 years. And there I adopted Azure Data Engineering and Microsoft Power BI and presently working as a senior Azure data engineer for one of the company. So this is briefly about me, and I wanted to take you through what we are going to do with Azure Data Engineer or Azure Data Engineering. What are the services that we are going to take? Why we need to go and use this data engineering services? Before Azure Data Engineering, what was there? I wanted to talk about it so that you can understand how we are going to deal with the data. The name itself is suggesting we are going to deal with the data. So the data may be in the form of numbers, the data may be in the form of text or date or unstructured format or structured format or semi-structured. Whatever it is, we are going to have some data and we are going to deal with the data. We are going to talk to the data. If data is not in shape, we are responsible to save the data as per the business requirement. So the main role of Azure data engineers is to deal with the data. Okay, so once we complete this demo, then you can understand the main roles of Azure data engineers. Now the data is going to be there in the form of numbers. Okay, so I just wanted to give that. So as we are going to deal with the data, I just wanted to say it's a raw fact. It's a raw fact in the form of numbers. We are going to have the data in the form of numbers or in the form of text or in the form of date and time. So we are going to have the data like this. How we are going to have this? Like if you take any business in the market, if you take any business in the market, we need to have some applications, right? If you take a Flipkart, you're going to order some product. Even if you take Amazon, you're going to do the same. You're going to order the product. Or if you take a banking application, you're going to make a transaction, right? So when you make a transaction, you're going to take your target account, how much amount you wanted to transfer that you have to specify, then you have to submit the transaction. All these transaction details are going to be captured by someone else. That means the business is going to capture all the details. So for reference, I'm just going to take one business. If you take any business in the market, if you take any business in the market, we need to have a system. That system is going to collect the data from the applications. That system is going to collect the data from the applications. So that applications may be anything. For reference, I'm just taking Amazon application. So this application is going to take the transactions from the customers. This is going to take the orders from the customers. So we're all the customers for any business. You're a customers for the banking, your customers for insurance, your customers for sales, or your customers for retail, for whatnot. There are many businesses, many business domains are available in the market. For any one of them, or most of the people are going to have in many places. If you take one person, that person definitely is going to have a account with the banking. So banking, he is a customer for the banking, and definitely he may have a insurance also, definitely. So he is a customer for the insurance. And even if you take a retail, definitely is going to have a, most of the people are going to have it. And even if you take a transport, for transport also, you may be the customer. I am the customer for many businesses. So that means they're going to collect all our data and they're going to keep it. So customer data is going to be there. In the same way, our transactions, day-to-day transactions also, they're going to have in the database. So for time being, I wanted to say how this data is going to be generated in the form of numbers, text, date, and time. When you order a product through this application, we are going to take number of products. How many number of products you wanted to take it? Let's say I wanted to take 5. I wanted to order 5 products or 1 product. Minimum 1 product will be there when you order it, right? So this 5 is a number. So we are going to, I mean to say the business is going to capture these numbers. And customer details is completely text. So when you order it, you have to specify your delivery address details, your customer details. These are all going to be text in the form of text. Your name is a text. Your location is a text. So those details also is going to be captured. So whenever you are going to do a transaction, I'm sure 100% is everyone is going to make a transaction at some point of time. So date and time is very important for data. So that also is going to be captured by the business system. So this particular system, I wanted to call it as a business system at this point of time. I'll talk about what is the naming standard for this. For time being, just imagine they have a business system. The business system is responsible to collect the data from the customers when the customer orders a product. Okay, so it's a different strategy. I have all the details here. I have all day-to-day transactions. My business was started 10 years ago, or my business was started 5 years ago. I wanted to take my analysis on my business. I wanted to grow in the business. I wanted to expand my business across the different locations, different areas, or I wanted to introduce different products. I wanted to increase my productivity. Then definitely every business, if you take a banking, if you take a insurance, if you take a retail, any business, they have to analyze the business. They have to understand their trends in the business. If they wanted to get the insights on top of the business, someone has to transform this data into information. Someone has to transform the data into information, because the business users understand only information. They cannot understand the data. The data is going to be there in this system in the form of rows and columns. In the form of rows and columns, we are going to have it. Now the question is, who is going to transform this data into information? We are going to have a BI developers. We are not going to be part of the BI. We are a data engineers. We are responsible to give the data to the reporting team. Who is going to give the data? The primary role of data engineers is we are responsible to bring the data from the underlying source systems, the main source systems to the down systems, to the downstream. You'll be having a different downstream systems. We have to give the data to the different people. Like we are going to give the data to the reporting team. We're also going to give the data to the data scientists. To the different people, we are going to give the data. So we are the first stage of the persons. So because of that reason, without data engineers, we cannot get the insights on top of the business, because report developers are not going to handle historical data. Report developers doesn't know how to handle incremental loading. Report developers are not going to be aware of handling the big data, because big data is going to be handled by data engineers. So as we are data engineers, we are going to handle the big data. Now I'm just going to give the introduction about the ETL tools, how ETL tools were going to work, and why Azure Data Engineering Services came into the picture to provide the solution for the big data. So when I say the term big data, you may feel Hadoop also is there, right? So Hadoop was traditional now. Okay, so now the people are using Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks to provide the solution for the big data. So I'm just going to give some brief idea about it, how exactly it was before Hadoop, and when the Hadoop was there, how it was processed. Now, how it is going to process, that I wanted to take you through as part of this sessions. Now, let's say, for example, before Hadoop, I wanted to say, before Hadoop also we have a ETL. Before Hadoop, I wanted to talk about it. We used to have a data in the form of a database. The databases may be anything. The databases may be Oracle. The database may be SQL Server. Whatever the database it is, those databases are going to have the day-to-day transaction data. Apart from that, we also brought the data from the file system also. From the file systems also, we used to bring the data even in the traditional approach also. File system. If you're aware of at least the term Informatica, SQL Server Integration Services, data stage, something like this, we were having a different ETL tools in the market previously. Now they're all completely traditional. Okay, so now we are not going to use them. Where is this? One minute. I'm just trying to change this color. It is not getting changed. Okay, that's fine. So I'm just going to make this little bold. Otherwise, okay, that's fine. So here I'm having a database. I'm having file system. So different systems I'm having in the traditional approach I'm just showing. All the systems, we can call it as a business systems or business data that I wanted to say here. Let me say source systems. I just wanted to say it is a source systems. I wanted to bring the data from here. So previously we used to have a tool called Informatica we were having. Let's say SSIS from Microsoft, and a data stage we were having, and Informatica also was there. So different traditional ETL tools were there to bring the data from the varieties of the systems, and we used to bring the data into a system. So we are integrating the data as the business system was distributed with the different platforms. And these systems, the source systems, will never maintain historical data. The source system is always going to have a current data, the running transactions. So up to max 6 months data we can find in the source systems. Now, if you wanted to compare your trends year by year or current month with the current month with last month, or let's take, if we take a December 2024, I wanted to compare with December 2023. How was the sales? How was the trends? If you want to compare it, then you need to have a 2023 data as well as 2024 data. All those things are going to be possible only if you have a data warehouse. So because of that reason, the data warehouse was there in this particular situation. So I wanted to say it is a DWH. This data warehouse is going to get the data from any of these particular tools. And I just wanted to say this is a, let me say here first, extraction. We're extracting it. And then we used to do the transformation with the help of any of these tools previously. We used to do the transformation. Once we have done the transformation, then we used to load the data into the target, that is data warehouse. So when you combine all three together here, extraction, transformation, and loading, when you combine together, we can call it as a ETL processing. So previously we used to call it as a ETL developers. The same ETL developers, now we are calling them as a data engineers. Okay, so there is no difference between us. ETL developers, data engineers are both are same. Even Hadoop developers also is same. The role may be little, the naming standard may be little different, but traditionally we were called as a ETL developers. Now we are being called as a data engineers because we are going to deal with the data. Now in this particular situation, you understand what is that ETL processing. So ETL processing is the process of extracting the data from the various data sources and applying a transformations based on the business requirement, and loading the data into the target is known as a ETL processing. So from this particular place, the reporting team will come into the picture. I'm just giving for reference here. We are not going to be part of reporting. So reporting team will take the data from the data warehouse. So we don't care how they're going to take it, how they're going to prepare. We are not going to be part of it. Based on the report requirement, if they need a 2 years data, we are going to keep the 2 years data in the data warehouse. And if they, whatever the calculations that they're having. So when I say reporting team, keep in mind, so do not think that that is going to have only one team. There will be multiple teams. So we are going to take common requirements from all the downstream systems, and we are going to do your transformations. We are going to build this warehouse as per their requirement. If they have any individual requirement, that is going to be done by themselves. So this is common for everyone. So this was the traditional approach. So there was a problem with SSIS, there was a problem with data stores and Informatica. Because all these traditional ETL tools are going to support only for structured data. That was the biggest problem. So these systems are not built, those systems were not built for handling big data. Those systems are not built for handling semi-structured and unstructured data. So this is the place the Hadoop came into the picture. This is the place the Hadoop came into the picture. Now let me give some idea about Hadoop. So two problems were identified a decade and a half ago. The two problems were identified. In the past, I'm saying, because in the past there were two problems. One is storage is the big problem. Okay, so storage was the big problem. And the second thing is processing. So why this problem came into picture is the mobiles came into the market, different online businesses came into the market. There are many changes happened when the smart mobiles was introduced. So the data was getting increased like anything. The data was grown very faster. So because of that reason, we faced two issues. One is when the data is continuously coming, when the data is growing like anything, then storage is the very big problem that point of time. When you have a huge storage, then definitely there was a processing problem also. So whatever the systems that we have seen, Informatica, data stores or SSS or any other systems, that point of time, those systems were not capable enough to process or to store the data when you have a huge volume of the data. So to provide the solution for all these things, Hadoop came into the market. Hadoop came into the market. So what Hadoop was doing is, by using the Hadoop, we can process the structured data. If you have a structured data, I can process it. Structured data, we can do process. And we can also process semi-structured data. And we can also process unstructured data. All the varieties of the data that we can process with the help of Hadoop. With the help of Hadoop, we can process all varieties of the data. So I wanted to say this is a source system. I wanted to say it is a source system. So why Hadoop came into the market, that I wanted to say is to process the big data. To process the big data, we are having it. So what is a big data? What is a big data? If you are not able to store the data in your system, that data we can treat as a big data. Or if your system is not capable enough to process the data, you can treat that data also as a big data. So I wanted to say here that data that cannot be processed, that cannot be stored, and data that cannot be processed by using your system is known as big data. Let's say, for example, if you take your laptop, maybe your laptop is going to have a 500 GB to store the data. We cannot store 501 GB, or we cannot store more than 500 GB data. If your system is capable enough to store up to 500 GB. Okay, so that is what a big data I can say. So the problem is we cannot store the data with your system. We cannot process the system. So that we can treat as a big data. The big data can be handled by using Hadoop. The Hadoop came into picture to provide a solution for your big data, as your traditional system is not capable enough to have it. So those systems supported to store only structured data. But here we have a semi-structured data, we have a unstructured data, and we can easily handle a very huge volume of the data by using the Hadoop. So Hadoop is a framework. So that was used in order to provide a solution for your big data. So by using Hadoop, what we have done is we are also doing the same thing here. We are extracting it. To extract also, we have to write some coding because Hadoop is 100% coding. 100% coding. So Hadoop is 100% coding. If you want to transform the data also, we have to write a coding for this. Transformation. Here also we are going to do the transformation. And you are going to feed the data into the system. That system, we used to call it as a HDFS. Hadoop Distributed File System. This Hadoop Distributed File System was introduced to store massive volume of data, and to process your massive volume of data, we can use Hadoop. There are many ecosystems for there in the Hadoop, and we can have a database also here, Hive database. From Hive, it will go to the different systems. So the problem with the Hadoop is this is 100% coding. If you don't know writing a coding, then it's very difficult to handle it. That is one thing. Another thing is you have to do everything, this entire solution that you're going to do only with the on-prem. So that is also one of the problem. There are many problems are there. So here we are not here to talk about the Hadoop, is because we are going to talk about Azure data engineering services right after it. On top of these services, on top of this, we are going to talk about it. So later people realized if we go with the on-prem, we have to control, we need to have our own cluster to run all this processing. So infrastructure is more, run and maintenance is more, and apart from that, we need to do 100% coding. All these things are degrading, or all these things are delaying to deliver the product. So taking more time to deliver the product when we go with the Hadoop, and people realized, and in the same way, even Microsoft also realized, why don't we provide a solution on top of it with easiest way? So later that we got this Azure Data Factory to provide the solution for the big data without writing the code. Now I'm just going to give some idea about it, how exactly it is going to be there. The same source systems I'm having, the same systems I'm having here also. The only change that we are going to have is I don't want to write a code. Most of the developers, most of the already ETL developers were there. Okay, so they're not much aware of writing a code. Because if you go for Informatica, that is a UI. If you go for SSS, that is a UI. And clicks, drag and drops will be there to provide the solution. So in the similar way, Microsoft come with the tool called or service called Azure Data Factory, ADF. Azure Data Factory was introduced to provide the solution for your big data. To provide the solution for your big data, we were having Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory, without writing the code, we can extract the data. We can transform the data without writing any code. Transformation. And then we are going to load the data into the data warehouse. Basically, mostly we are not going to store the data in the warehouse. We are going to store the data in the ADLS. I'll give little more details about it, how exactly it is going to be happen in real time. But for time being, just imagine we are going to feed the data into the ADLS. So that means here also you are going to do only ETL processing. With the Hadoop also you are doing ETL processing. With traditional tools also you are doing ETL processing. Even with now we are having ETL processing only. Extraction, transformation and loading. But basically ADF is not a ETL, EDF is a ELT. Extraction, loading and transformation. After extraction, we are going to do the transformation in order to improve the performance. To accelerate your data processing, we are going to use ELT processing. So because of that reason, we are calling ADF is not only ETL, we are also going to call this service as a ELT service or ELT tool. So how exactly it is going to be there with this one? I wanted to talk about it so that we can get better clarity. When you go for Azure data engineering, definitely they're going to ask about Azure Databricks. So why people are expecting Azure Databricks also, you're going to get to know about it. So again, I'm just taking same thing. I have a data in the database. Just take an example. I'm having my data in the Oracle. Even in my current database, we're having 51 source systems we're handling. So Oracle is one of the system that we are using. And you may also have you can also have a data in the file system. You can also have a data in the file system. Apart from that, you can also have a data in the cloud system. So I'll talk about it, guys. What is the cloud and how it is going to be there? So here I'm just talking about the approach, how or what we are going to do as a data engineer. My source system is a Oracle. It's an on-prem system. My data is also there in the file system. That is also on-prem system. In the same way, you can also have a data in the cloud system also. So in my current project, we are taking the data from the GCP cloud storage to Azure data storages also in order to transform the data as we were having a requirement. So my source system is also maybe cloud system. The cloud may be anything. The cloud may be anything. So I wanted to say all these systems, I wanted to call this as a source systems. From all these systems, I wanted to consolidate and I wanted to centralize the data. But I don't want to write a code. Then you can ignore about the Hadoop. I don't want to go with the traditional systems because traditional systems are not capable enough to handle my big data or to handle my varieties of the data. So definitely you have to go with the two systems that I recommend here. Basically, as we are going to work with Azure Data Engineer, 100% we are going to use only a data factory. I'm sure about it. There are two stages that we are going to do in this particular place. Two stages we are going to handle here. The first stage, what we can call the first stage, I'll give it. So first we need to extract the data from the systems. I wanted to call this as a extraction. Once I extract the data, I don't want to transform the data. I don't want to transform it. I wanted to load the data into the ADLS. This one we used to call it as a ADLS. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. ADLS Gen 2. So what we are doing here, we are doing loading. We are not going to do the transformation in the first stage. So this particular stage, I wanted to call it as a this particular stage, I wanted to call it as a data ingestion. So as a data engineer, this is the primary role. Everyone is going to ingest the data. So we were having more than 300 tables in my different data sources. Hardly I worked more 20 tables only in my current project. Okay, so to feed the data for one table, we are going to take one sprint. One sprint is equivalent to 15 days, 2 weeks. Okay, so it's not just feeding it. You have to do some analysis. So if at all, if you are going to get any object to feed the data from the source to target, so what are the initial steps that we need to take it? So that I'm going to talk at the time of project. So data ingestion is the primary responsibility of the data engineer. And so once the data was ingested into the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, then we need to transform the data. We are not going to give the data as it is to the target. We have to transform. We have to save the data. We have to integrate the data. So in order to do this, in the second stage, we can use ADF, but I recommend you to use ADB, Azure Databricks. For transformation, we can use both of the services. Either we can use Azure Data Factory or we can use Azure Databricks. So here also we are going to do what? We are going to extract it. We're going to extract it. That means you're reading the data from the source. So by using what? By using ADF, we can do, or by using ADB also we can do. So by using either one of the service, we are going to do the transformation. We are going to do the transformation. So once we have done the transformation, your final target is also is going to be again Azure Data Lake Storage and 2. We are going to load the data here. So this particular part, we can call it as this part. I wanted to call this as data transformation. So this is also is one more primary responsibility of data engineers. Data transformations. Everyone has to do it. So in real time, we are going to have two stages. One is data ingestion and other is data transformation. We are not going to have two layers. We are going to handle medallion architecture. Okay, so like we are going to have a layers like landing, bronze, or we can say this raw also we can say raw layer, silver or gold. So like this, we are going to have, in place of this, we can also call this as a bronze. So in my case, how exactly we are using in my project, I'm going to talk about it. Okay, so this naming standards also is very important, how you handle the data when data is ingested. So in the first stage, in the data ingestion, the data is going to sit in the landing zone. So what is this landing zone? We'll talk about it. So from the landing zone, we are going to have a medallion architecture, bronze, silver, gold. So three layers we are going to have it. So how exactly it is going to be handled, we'll see that. So this is not the right place to talk about all those details at this point of time. So I'm just saying only data ingestion and data transformation. This entire process can be automated with the help of Azure Data Factory. With the help of Azure Data Factory, with the help of Azure Data Factory, we can automate it. We can orchestrate the entire process with the help of Azure Data Factory. So Azure Data Factory is very, very, very important. We used to take when you are going to work with as a Azure data engineer, 100% is for data ingestion, we are going to use only Data Factory. And for data transformation, guys, keep in mind, if you have a brand new projects, if they are interested to go with the ADF, then you may have a transformation with ADF. But 90 to 95% is we are having transformations with the Databricks. So Azure Databricks is very, very, very important if you wanted to survive as a data engineer. So that is very, very important point you need to keep in mind. So without Databricks, you cannot clear the interview. You cannot work presently in the market. Maybe after 5 years, we may have a completely only data factory for both data ingestion and data transformation. But now currently the market is having with the Databricks. Okay, so I hope you're following with me. And by using this particular sessions, what services that we are going to cover is, I just wanted to give some a list of services. To work as a data engineer, what we need to know it. To work as a Azure data engineer, we need to know following services. So one is the very important is Azure Data Factory. The second is Azure Databricks. If you know this two, that is more and more enough. But there are many things that we need to work with SQL Server, Azure Data Lake Storage, Gen 2. So storage is going to be there with the help of Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So this also should be aware of it. And Azure SQL Server. And very important is Azure Key Vault. Without Key Vault, you cannot clear the interview. You cannot say I didn't use Key Vault. You're not supposed to say. 100% you have to say. Yeah, we used Key Vault. And Azure Logic App is required in order to get the alert mails and all. But we have a different approach also to have a alert mails directly with the data factory or with the Databricks also we can get it. And if you need more in detail, then definitely we need to have a Azure Logic App. And keep in mind, we are not a Logic App developers. We are just going to use Logic App to get the alerts. And to whom it is going to be suitable. I mean to say this particular course to whom it is going to be suitable that I wanted to say. One is the folks who are having a gap. If you have a 3 to 5 years gap or 2 years gap, any gap that you are having, then you can choose this particular course as we are having very more vacancies in the Azure data engineering or data engineering services. So we are having more demand in the market. You can check even with your friends, or you can have a look on, with Naukri or somewhere, you can get to know how we are having openings on Azure Data Factory. And not only this, the people who wants to upgrade their skill set. The folks who wants to upgrade your skill sets. That means you're having some experience already. You're working SSIS, or you're working Informatica, or you're working Hadoop, or you're working some other technologies, whatever it is, irrespective of it. You're having some skill set and you wanted to upgrade your skill set, then definitely this is one of the best place, or this is one of the best course to survive more long time in the market. And even you can even if there is a freshers also can be take this one, because and if anyone fresher is there, this Azure data engineering, data science, all these are all academic subjects for them presently. So as their academic subjects, definitely you can also choose even if you're a fresher. Okay, so these are all the things. For all these things, it is going to be helpful. And if you wanted to, if you wanted to upgrade your skills from one technology to other technology, you can get it. And if you're having a gap, then definitely you can choose Azure Data Engineering. The prerequisites for Azure Data Engineering to get a job. To learn this course, we don't need any prerequisite, but to get a job, definitely, I always based on get a job. To get a job, we required one is SQL. So without SQL, we cannot work as a data engineer. Structured querying language. At least basics are required. If you want to work as a data engineer, we should know about this basics at least. So the SQL will be used for both. Okay, so for ADF also we are going to use, for ADB also we are going to use. So in ADB we used to call it as a Spark SQL. In ADB we used to call it as a Spark SQL. So SQL is mandatory for this. And Python basics are required because this Python basics is going to be used by ADB, Azure Databricks. So these two things are required, especially these two are going to be covered as part of the course. Okay, so you don't need to worry about it. To make you understand your data factory and Databricks, we required SQL and we required Python basics. So this Python is required for Azure Databricks. It's very, very important. And we can also use the SQL in the Databricks also. So SQL is mandatory for both ADF and ADB. Okay, and what we are going to provide when you take a training here, that I just wanted to give the list of items here so that you can have an idea. What we are going to provide. We are going to provide the material in PDF, the soft copy, you can take it. And I'm also going to provide interview questions and answers. We are going to discuss about them. This entire training is going to be based on the use cases, based on the requirement. So since it is based on the use cases, I wanted to say it is 100% job oriented training. And in order to practice it, basically we need to have a sample data also. This is, as I said, when I say job oriented means if you complete this training, I'm sure you can easily survive in your project. Even if you're not having any experience with the data engineering, once we complete a project with me, then definitely you can 100% survive. So I'm going to make you in that confidence level. And then to practice this one, we need to have a sample data. The sample data is going to be provided for practicing. And uh, like this, I'm not going to give a what we can say steps in the material. So you have to go through the recording. The recording access will be provided for 6 months. Recording access will be there. So we can go for multiple times. And you have to complete. I'm going to monitor that also, how you're doing a practice. And resume, let's say a real-time project, I'm just going to talk about it. So when I say real-time project, it's not a real-time data, keep in mind, because data will never come outside. We have to take a sample data. But you feel that this is a project, only data is changing, but the approach that we are going to do is 100% real-time approach. So I'm going to spend more time. I'm going to spend 20 days with only project. So just imagine how much we are going to talk about it. If you complete that project, you can easily survive. You can you can attempt many questions even if you complete the project, the real-time questions. So that I'm going to take you through about it. And the resume preparation I'm going to take. So when we prepare the resume, then we should know about each and every responsibility that you are mentioning in the profile. So you should talk about it. Whatever you know that you have to keep in the profile. So after completion of all the course, at the end of the session, that we are going to prepare a resume. How we can talk about a resume. And the sessions will be from Monday to Saturday. Monday to Saturday, the sessions will be there. One practicing session also will be there for, I mean to say, a lab practicing session. So if you have a doubt on that particular day, you can join in that particular session, you can get it clear. Okay, so your doubts will, your practical doubt will be cleared in that particular place. So lab practicing session also will be there as and when required. And mock interviews will be provided. Okay, so all these things that we are going to cover here, and if at all if required, we are also going to take on Sunday, especially for mock interviews, or we are going to have one doubts clearing session. Either it is on a Saturday or Sunday. So whenever it is required, we are going to have a only doubts clearing session. So we are not going to talk any subject. So apart from the regular time, it will be in a different time. We'll make it possible based on everyone's schedule. We'll plan for even doubts clearing session also. So in the regular session also you can ask. I'll give us some time to ask a question, but in the regular in regular classes, sometimes it may not be possible for everyone's. So because of that reason, we plan to take only one doubts clearing session for a week. One session per week. So like that, we are planning it. So these are all about what we are going to provide. And you just follow with me. And if you can follow with me, definitely I'll make you much more success in your data engineering thing. Okay, so I'm stopping here. If you have any question, you can ask me. Guys, any question? Able to hear me?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay then. So I'm stopping here. We are going to start this batch in the new year, guys. So Sunday will keep in touch with you, and we are going to have one more demo. Then we are going to start it a new batch. So just Sunday will keep in touch with you to provide the details. Thank you for joining. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, sir.